Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. I am joined with my co-host, as always, Dylan over at Nets Press. Dylan, it's been a while. How you doing? How's everything going?
It's going. It was an interesting week, we'll say the least. But we're back, making some time to talk Nets. It's always good to be able to talk about the team that we enjoy. So, just glad to be here, man.
Unfortunately, that team is the Brooklyn Nets, and unfortunately, our football teams aren't a whole lot better. So,
No, not whatsoever. No, not at all.
things are not good over at BK Nothing But Nets podcast. But at least the Steelers season isn't over. The Jets play in Tampa this week. That's 0-3, right?
I was going to say Joe Burrow is out for 3 months now. You never like to see it. But Burrow is probably one of my favorite players in the league that isn't a Steeler. So it sucks to see him have to deal with that injury because people forget. I mean, they were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it helps the Steelers. So, you never want to see it, but is it beneficial? Yes. Not the way that you want to do it, though, for sure.
If the Jets drop this week, they're 0-3 and the season's over, right? I mean, they've already lost 2 home games.
Fields have a concussion?
Yeah, Fields is out. Most likely, he's got a concussion. He'll most likely miss this week, which means Tyrod Taylor and 0-3, and then basically.
Am I crazy for saying I think I trust Tyrod Taylor more than I do Justin Fields?
It's not crazy, but Tyrod Taylor's going to get hurt too. Like, how many games do you think Tyrod Taylor can play? Yeah, yeah. So it just sucks. Like the Mets are god awful. The Jets are god awful, and the Nets are god awful. The best that we can hope for is the Nets lose all their games. That would be the pinnacle of the season if the Nets lose all their games. That would be the best thing.
That would be helpful. That's for damn sure. It would be very beneficial for the Nets to lose as much as possible, but we also have Jordy Fernandez, Sean Marks, and the power of friendship on our team. So who knows?
I want to talk about one of the bright spots for the Brooklyn Nets, Zaire Williams. Can you explain what's going on in his contract? They just gave him $500,000 more.
Yeah, it was kind of like a thank you for being patient, thank you for being loyal. Here's your little payday. I mean, it makes sense. I found it hilarious that those contracts were announced right around the same time frame of Cam Thomas accepting his qualifying offer. It's like, hey, you don't want to try and sign here long term and see the vision that we're trying to build. You're not a priority. We're going to have two guys that are around the same age as you, make slightly more than you. I think it's a slap in the face to Cam on that one. It's kind of showing like, you don't want to be here long term. You're not giving us the opportunity to keep you here long term at a fair value. We're going to show you now that we don't want you. And I think that's exactly what that means.
I agree with you in half of that it's a slap in the face to Cam Thomas. It absolutely is. The timing and everything. And then they're paying him a little more than they're paying Cam Thomas. It's all a slap in Cam Thomas's face. I agree with that. The point I disagree with is you don't want to be here long term. Dylan, they didn't offer him a long-term contract. They offered him a 1 year plus.
They offered him a very similar deal to what they offered Nick Claxton. The difference is that Nick Claxton believed in what they were doing. He knew that he had a role here. He knew that he can improve, which he slightly did, but he improved enough to earn the contract, right, at the time. And I think that's the major difference.
You're talking about his first contract, his contract in
initially when his rookie deal expired, right?
Right. Yeah.
He took a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
There was no option on it, but regardless, that doesn't really matter, right? If you perform and you put up 25 a game on, borderline 50, 40, 90 splits with, improved playmaking, you're going to get paid, right? You may have to suck it up and be undervalued for a season and play on a shorter term or a shorter money term deal, right? But you're at least positioning yourself to get paid and get the extension. He could have been extended if they accept the team option, right? Say he accepted the 2-year, $14 million team option, okay?
Yeah.
Realistically, the first year he'd play on that and he'd have to prove himself, right? Say that he exceeds the expectation, he looks great. The following season, he could play on that $14 million, but they can begin contract extension talks where, he could be a $25 to $35 million player. So that's the difference between Claxton's situation and Thomas's situation is one bought in and one had the desire to be here. The other one is looking for money, right? And I don't think that he has earned that money based on the market that he's in and based on the performances that we've seen in terms of his growth and development.
It's right. So when Nick Claxton signed that contract, he played in over his first 2 years. He played 47 games, averaged 3.5 rebounds and 5.5 points, and that's what they paid him off of.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think that to say
it's like the NFL, right? It's like the NFL, right? If you are an injured player and you're going into your contract year, 9 times out of 10, you are going to be signing a prove-it deal. You're going to be signing a 1-year deal on much less than you could probably make. I mean, shit, look at Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa was one of the best defensive ends in football for a while, but he has constantly dealt with injuries to a point where he now got released from his team, meaning the San Francisco 49ers, and signed a very, very short-term, low-money deal with the Bills. That's what happens. When you can't provide longevity and you can't provide health, right? If you can't be available while also putting up the numbers that you feel is deserving of a certain dollar point, you're not going to get it, right? His best bet would have been, okay, I know that I'm not getting the money, but let's at least try and figure out this team option. Can you at least give me a player option? That's where it would have made a little bit more sense, right? And who's not to say that that wasn't offered, but at the end of the day, too, if you're walking into negotiations and not even willing to negotiate that portion of it and you're just focused on the money, why would we try and break? Why would we break our bank for a guy that is replaceable?
I mean, there's only a handful of guys in the NBA that aren't replaceable, right? I mean, you're talking
100%.
about, okay, so is Cam Thomas replaceable? Yes. Is it easy to replace Cam Thomas? We're going to disagree on that. I don't think that.
Would you prefer somebody that is 6'6" at the shooting guard position who puts up 20 points on similar efficiencies with slightly improved playmaking numbers? Or would you rather a 6'3.5" undersized shooting guard with minimal defense, minimal rebounding, and minimal playmaking?
At 6'3.5", I think you're being kind too. I think you're being nice with the.
I think I am being kind. I'm trying to give some benefit of the doubt, but like, you know what I mean? It's like you gotta.
I think he's 6'3" on a good day. Yeah.
Yeah, like you gotta really think about it. The NBA is something that is. There's a lot of replaceable products, which is why the term superstar is getting thrown around a little too much. There's realistically only about 4, maybe 5 superstars in the league, right? You got Luka, you've got Giannis, you've got Jokic, you've got SGA. Yeah. I really consider those 4 to be the only superstars. I don't even consider Jason Tatum to be a superstar.
We've Tatum and Wemby, I don't know where we put those guys.
Yeah, those are more of like your borderline superstars, right? They're well above a star, but they're not in the position where you've seen them be the solidified number 1 option and just take over a game, right? Jason Tatum, a very lackadaisical playoff performer. He got carried in numerous different scenarios by Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown even won the Finals MVP. That's right. Like, that's what I'm saying. Steph Curry at this point in his career is not a superstar. Was he the year that he won the Finals without Kevin Durant? Yes.
Yeah.
In 2020,
was it 2021? And KD are no longer superstars. I would agree with that.
I agree with that. Right? Does that mean that they're not top 10 players in the league? No, but that just means that they aren't in a position to where their game is so elevated to where they can physically bring teams to success. Like that's not what they do much anymore, right? They can still put up similar numbers, but they're not going to impact the game as much as they were when they were in their late 20s.
Bron and KD are no longer top 10 players in the league.
I disagree.
Who would you rather have? Who impacts winning more? Who's going to carry a team more? Jalen Brunson or Kevin Durant?
Kevin Durant.
I disagree.
I think it really depends. I think we're going to see it this year in Houston, especially. But he's got a team now with depth, with youth, with versatility. He's not on a team. The last 2 teams that he has been on, meaning Brooklyn and Phoenix, have been so depleted depth-wise that they really haven't had that mixture of veteran presence, stars, and youth that brings opportunities on both of the floor, right? When he was in Brooklyn, the biggest problem was defense. It was size. There was really never a true big to help them in the paint, right? Kevin Durant at times is playing center. Like, that's a problem. In Phoenix, they put all their chips into Bradley Beal. That was a disservice to him. That didn't work out. They had minimal bench. They were playing Ryan Dunn, as a starter at times in his rookie year. That doesn't work for a guy like Kevin Durant. You need to have a mixture of veteran depth and of youth that can play both ends of the floor. He's not going to be playing alongside Alperen Sengun and Amen Thompson. Sengun's a star, right? Thompson's a borderline star. He's going to be playing next to a vet like Fred VanVleet. That's going to be, the best veteran point guard he's played with since Kyrie. I don't really consider Devin Booker to be a point guard. He's going to be playing next to Dorian Finney-Smith now, which is a great veteran 3-and-D role player to play alongside of. That's probably the best vet that he's played next to probably since Bruce Brown in Brooklyn, right? Like, he has a team now. This will be the year whether or not you can see that his skill set brings you to success. So it'll be interesting to see him in Houston. I think this is the best team he's had since Golden State. All around wise, of course.
It's the deepest. Well, yeah, it's the deepest. I mean, just Kyrie and Harden isn't depth. The depth on that was bad.
100%.
The depth wasn't. Yeah. The Phoenix had absolutely no depth. That was a disaster. Yeah, no, you're right. That's true. That's a fair statement. I know you look at the big threes that Brooklyn had and Phoenix had. It looks sexy, except the only problem is that no longer wins anymore. That's not the key to winning.
No,
anymore.
it takes 2 stars.
Yeah,
it takes 2 borderline stars, and it takes 3 to 5 different depth pieces. Right? You need a 9-man rotation. You need 9 guys that you can truly believe in and trust to go out there and win basketball games. Right? It doesn't take 3 guys that combine for 78 points with lackadaisical defense on the other side. Right? So you have to mix and match what works in the NBA today.
I wanted to get it. We're only 3 weeks away, roughly, from the Nets' first preseason game against something from Israel I'm not familiar with at the Barclays Center. Mm-hmm. And then there's 4 preseason games total. What do you expect? What do you want to see from the Nets this preseason? What are you expecting in the Well, let's start with this. Are the Nets done with major roster moves before the season starts?
With major roster moves, most likely. And it's unfortunate because I really was hoping for some form of trade, whether it is, an RJ Barrett or somebody of that nature that also can net you back a pick potentially just to take on the contract. I would have definitely loved to see something along those lines. At this point, the easiest thing is to kind of just release some of these team option guys that you brought back earlier in the season, or early in the offseason, I should say. The Keon Johnsons, the Tyrese Martins, the Jalen Wilsons. These are guys that are replaceable. In terms of what I'm looking forward to most in the preseason, it's the improvements that Yegor Demin has made throughout, the month and a half, 2 months since we've last seen him. He's been posting a little bit some of his workouts on Instagram and things like that. He looks to be putting on a little bit more size. I'm not going to say that, he's looking lean and mean, but he doesn't look like a beanpole like he did when we saw him in summer league. And now that could just be camera angles. Of course, we're not going to see until he gets on the floor, but ultimately, I'm hoping to see some form of growth in terms of his first step, in terms of his ability to create in the mid-range. I want to see him utilized more as a point guard. And then the one that I'm probably most excited to see is Drake Powell, right? We didn't get to see him in Summer League. I'm hoping they give him preseason minutes. I really want to see what he can provide on both ends of the floor as a 3-and-D guy. The Nets just announced a signing. Free agent center David Muoka. Holy shit. I don't even know who that is. Muoka. Could not tell you who that is. I'm really hoping that's not the last two-way spot.
David Muoka is a Hong Kong professional basketball player for the Windy City Bulls of the NBA G League. He played college ball for the Lamar Cardinals and the UNLV Running Rebels. That's interesting. Okay. He played for the Long Island Nets in 23-24.
So did we just give him an Exhibit 10, or are we giving him the two-way?
I'm looking into it's not mentioned on. Let me. This is 10. I don't know anything about this guy. This is breaking news to me too. David, where are you? Where'd you get this from? Is this
CJ Holmes?
All right, that's legit. I'm gonna try to find some content on this guy. I don't know who. Does anyone know who this is?
Not a clue in the world. Could not tell you.
All right. So, what are we? What are we doing with these guys? What are we doing?
Absolutely nothing.
I can't say I even understand why we would do this. Like it's I'm not trying to disparage the guy, but we don't have any more roster spots. Why are we doing this? I just don't like. I'm gonna put some highlights on him. Yeah, here. Let me see. He's 6'10". That's not him, is it? Oh, okay, he's right here. Wait,
that was him with the putback.
it was the putback. Yeah, all right. 33 on the Long Island Nets. Is he a defender? I gotta tell you, if this is a highlight package, this is not great.
Yeah, I'm not seeing. I mean, I'm really hoping it's not that last two-way spot because I wanted that to be Fanbo's. That's somebody I'm actually excited about in terms.
Yeah,
of
Fanbo's highlight pack. Like a highlight pack is a highlight package. I'm not good, but like Fanbo's highlight package looks like I don't know a highlight package. This looks like this looks like the most insignificant player on the court. All right.
This is something for sure.
It's something. It's 33 guys. If you watch it, it's 33 on the Long Island Nets. This is from last season. He doesn't seem to have good hands off the bat. All right, I guess he's a rim protector and a rebounder who's not very good at rim protection or rebounding. I don't know.
Oh man.
All right, this guy. I just don't understand. Why would we? Again, I'm asking you out of ignorance here because neither one of us know anything about this guy. Why would we add another guy like this on our roster at this point in the offseason?
It's got to be an Exhibit 10. There's no way they gave the two-way spot to him. I don't believe that if that is the case. It just doesn't make any form of sense.
But we can't even bring him into the preseason, can we?
I mean, you could. I believe you could on an Exhibit 10. I think you're allowed to bring 21 players total on the roster for preseason.
Okay.
Or at least a training camp.
This Keon.
So I don't know. I mean, this is just. I find new ways to be astonished by this organization every day.
I just don't understand any of the things. This guy, I'm gonna assume that this is an Exhibit 10 because there's 0% chance that this guy can play in the NBA off of what we're seeing right here. Correct? There's no skill set. There's absolutely nothing in here. I get tapes from people all the time. You got to see my fighter, Gary. I put the tape on. It's like, what am I even supposed to be impressed with? Like his size, I guess. He's got good size, right? He's a big dude. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be impressed by. I guess just the size. Yeah, that guy's not going to be on the roster. But like, I'm not the biggest Drew Timme fan, but if it's between him and Drew Timme for your last roster spot, who's getting it?
Timme.
All right, it's not even close. So what's the purpose of this? All right. Okay, guys, this guy will not be playing for the Brooklyn Nets this year. He might play for the Long Island Nets. He will not be playing for the Brooklyn Nets. Can we agree on that, Dylan?
I would agree.
All right. That's something else. That is all right. So let's get back to it. We just talked. The Nets done with mate. We're gonna put this in the bucket of a non-major roster move. The Nets done with major roster moves.
I think at this point, yes. Could you see like an early season move, maybe? But I don't see anything significant now at this point in the season happening. Prior to preseason, a couple of cuts, and that's about it.
So it's been an interesting offseason. Terrence Mann, Michael Porter Jr., the 5 first-round draft picks. Like it's not been spectacular, but it's been busy. There's been a lot of volume in Nets news compared to other teams, at least. All in all, how would you grade the Nets offseason?
It is on a partial deal. It's from Legal Alerts 19 minutes ago. So that likely is an Exhibit 10. How would I grade the offseason? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, as a whole.
I'd probably say a C+, right? It wasn't the worst thing in the world. It's a start. But this offseason kind of showed that the Nets did not like the position that they were in the draft. So they overtook players to kind of guarantee themselves more likely of a chance to hit on a pick rather than not. That's the first thing that I disagreed with. I really felt that 3 top 20 picks would have been more beneficial than 5 top 30 picks, right? And I think it really comes down to the quality of the player. So that to me, like the draft as a whole was probably a D plus, right? I think that there is some talent and some upside with your first 3 picks. You know, Wolf is kind of that, like, he could hit, but there is a very small chance. And if he does hit, you look like a genius. Saraf to me has no upside. And that's kind of where I'm like, you know what? You could have packaged up 19 and 26 to move up maybe 5 to 6 spots, even if you had to throw in an additional future first from a team like Philly or something like that to go out and get a guy like Noah Senge or Carter Bryant or Thomas Sorber. So, you know, that to me was probably the most disappointing part, was just the amount of, you know, research and studying that I did on my part for this draft, and knowing how important the quality of the picks were at certain points of the draft, to then see us, you know, select a large plethora of talent that is going to be tough to develop with the current roster. That's the first mistake. The second mistake was not figuring out the Cam Thomas long-term solution, right? And I think that as a whole could be graded as an F. The qualifying offer was by far the worst case scenario. There's really no significant reason on both sides as to why that happened, right? You didn't get closer to your salary floor that you need to hit, and you also didn't solidify yourself the ability to trade him or to re-sign him long term. So I think that is an absolute failure as well. Outside of that, the Michael Porter Jr. trade, I think that was great. I think that was a perfect move. I think he's a very solid player. You know, he's been in New York for what, 3 months, and we're already starting to see a completely different MPJ than we did in Denver based on his
Is that
media
a good
presence.
thing or a bad thing? I want the one in Denver. That's the kind of guy I want. What are your thoughts on Michael Porter Jr. won the offseason, if nothing else?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to brand yourself in a specific way, by all means, do whatever you want. Like, I really don't care about some of the stupid shit that he says, because, again, we just witnessed it this week where opinions can be taken to a point of extreme. You know, if you have an opinion, you can get criticized for it all you want. It doesn't affect me, right? Whatever you do on the basketball court is what I care about. So we'll see. I mean, I don't expect this to be like a full season type of thing. Like, is he having some fun in the off season trying to make a name for himself? Sure. I guess it's an extra paycheck on YouTube or whatever he's using. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I'm just excited to see what he can do as a primary second option. Maybe some in the organization may consider him like a 1B, right? So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of develops his game as a scorer and as a higher option than he was in Denver.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, like, he's a much better athlete than Cam Johnson. Locked On Nets. Well, his name, Eric Slater.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying Cam Johnson is a better basketball player than Porter Jr. I better at what he's.
One has a championship. The other made a finals and lost. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I would say Porter and Johnson. Let's say as shooters, they're a wash. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Every other aspect of basketball, Michael Porter Jr. is better at.
The only thing that I will give Cam Johnson is the ability to put the ball on the floor. I think that he showcased that a little bit better.
Okay.
I agree that he's not a great guy to put the ball on the floor, but he did it better than Michael Porter Jr. specifically in Denver. And again, that could just be limited to what MPJ's role in Denver was specifically.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if he put the ball on the floor, and if Cam Johnson played on Denver in that offense and started putting the ball on the floor, he'd be on the bench. Yeah.
I certainly agree. But you know, that's why I'm excited to see what he can do here. You knew what Cam Johnson was as a player. You don't really know what you have in Michael Porter Jr. This is a guy who was, once again, a unanimous number 1 overall consensus high school prospect. He was looked to be as the next Kevin Durant, dealt with that back injury, and you know, from there kind of received a very limited role moving forward. Hopefully they expand upon that and see if he actually does have that high school version of himself, at least half of it still left in the tank. I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping for, is to see some form of improvement on putting the ball on the floor. And I think that that'll be the interesting part to watch out for him this season.
I want to just I like this comment from Dennis Milton because I agree with it. We are kicking the can. That's all you need to know. Most of the moves are non-consequential. Does not matter. It's a throwaway year. Yeah. I agree with most of the statement. Dylan, your thoughts on this? We're just kicking the can down the road, just getting through this year.
Yeah, 100%. This is what should have been done last year, right? And this is why I had said when you got your picks, you had to have taken them seriously. You should have received maximum value for some of the role players that you had, right? And that was the biggest mistake last year, was bringing certain players in to start the season, which already put you at a deficiency in terms of the standings and where you wanted to be come lottery night, right? Certain players probably shouldn't have been playing towards the end of the season, like the Nick Claxtons who hit a buzzer beater against Philly, or the Cam Johnsons who had a couple of 20+ point games that you didn't really need. So hopefully that's something that they look at this year and say, this is the last year where we can really solidify ourselves in the lottery, at least for the next year and a half, since you don't own your own 2027 pick. And hopefully they just take it seriously and get the best pick possible. Like I said, I can live with being the worst team in the league and receiving the 5th pick. I can. It's better than what you received. I can live with it. And the reason I say that is because, again, when you look at the depths of some of these draft classes, last year 5 got you Ace Bailey, and we can all agree, as a general fan base, that we'd probably be more excited in terms of the upside of a player on Ace Bailey rather than Yegor Demin. And again, that's not a knock on Yegor. I think Yegor is going to be very good for Brooklyn long term. But the overall consensus of who has the higher upside as a player in this league, we all can agree that we probably would have been happier with Ace over Yegor, right? And that's the difference between the 5th pick and the 8th pick. And how do you guarantee yourself a top 5 pick? By being the worst team in basketball.
Let's take a look. Let's go back a couple of years. Let's kind of look at the draft and see who was taken 5th overall. I know Ace Bailey this year. I mean, we don't know anything yet, but we would all have been happy with Ace Bailey. I wanted to trade up more than anything to get Ace Bailey. I'm going to start with 2017. I just picked a random year. De'Aaron Fox went 5. Okay, that's a hit. I just want to see who went 5. 2018. Trae Young. All right, that's a hit. Okay, you're 2 for 2 so far, Dylan. 2019. Darius Garland. You want to score that
that's
a
hit? He's an all-star. Right, I mean, he's been an all-star. I would consider that a hit. I mean, that's a top-tier 3rd option in basketball right now.
You're gonna be right on this argument. Number 5 is Okongwu. That's a miss. But
Onyeka Okongwu?
Yeah. If you have the worst,
is it a miss for 5? Yes. But is it a bad player? No. I mean, he's going to be the starting center potentially. It really depends on if they want to utilize Porzingis and Jalen Johnson, or if they feel Onyeka deserves the starting spot. But yeah, I mean, the 5th overall.
Here's the interesting thing, better. Right? Like, okay, so Orlando took Jalen Suggs at 5. The first 4 are all hits: Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes. Those are all hits. Suggs, okay, he's not. But after that, when Giddey, Kuminga, and Wagner, so you could have got a hit at 5. Orlando missed on that pick.
Yeah.
So there were still very good players in that draft in Giddey, Kuminga, and Wagner. Okay, 2022.
I was gonna say, what? If you really want to compare it, look at the 5th pick from 2017 onward compared to the 8th pick in those drafts. That's where you'll really see the difference, probably.
Yeah, the only year it's going to look good is the Franz Wagner year for number 8th pick. We could have just taken Franz Wagner at 5. De'Aaron Fox or Frank Ntilikina.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, 5 is a lot better. Trae Young, Colin Sexton. Like, Sexton's a quality player. God, the Knicks drafted 9 that year and took Kevin Knox. So in back-to-back years, they took Knox and Ntilikina. That's extraordinary. Good job, Knicks.
Yeah, there you go.
2019 is Garland, Jackson Hayes. The 8th pick has not been good.
Historically, it is not a very good pick. And historically, the 6th overall odds in the lottery is the worst pick. It's the one to least likely move up, and it hasn't over the past 5 years.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 5 and I guess look. They get 5 Suggs, or Wagner. That's the one, but you could have just taken. Look, the point is, anyone you get at 8, you could have gotten at 5. Are you getting an impact player at 5? Kind of right. You kind of are getting an impact. You might not be getting.
You're probably at
best.
70. Yeah, you're probably at a 70% hit rate on the 5th overall pick.
But you got to be smart about it, right?
Yeah, of course.
You got
And I'm not sure if I'm misreading this right here from Alex Torres. If you want to pop it up on the screen, but to say that they did everything in their power to solidify themselves with the best lottery odds possible is a joke, right? You saw them go out there and win games in the 4th quarter when they were trailing. You saw them hit buzzer beater shots to win games when they could have lost that game. That's the difference between trying and going out there and looking at ego wins. And that's what ultimately failed you in the draft lottery, right? So how do you solidify yourself with the best pick possible? It's being the worst team in basketball. And that's what a lot of people seem to forget. You cannot go further than 5 if you are the worst team in basketball. And like I just showed you here, or at least Gary's showing you on the screen, is that the 5th overall pick historically probably hits over the past 10 years at a 70% clip. Whether it's
and
if
you miss at 5, the guys at 6 or 7 hits. So that's on you for being bad, right? Like you could have. There were still impact players at 5 who you could have taken, right? There were guys at 6 and 7 who you passed on that would have. The one year we looked at Jalen Suggs. Franz Wagner went 8. Franz Wagner's a hit, right? But you took Suggs instead because you're stupid. Yeah. So there's still plenty of good players at 5. I can, if we get 5, I'm not going to be thrilled that we got 5, but I can live with a top 5 pick. I still want 1 or 2 or even 3.
I mean, listen, would it be disappointing to be the worst team in basketball and receive the 5th pick? 100%. But again, if that's how the cards fall, at that point you're hoping Yegor to be your 3rd option. You're hoping that 5th overall pick to be your 2nd option. You have the market to where you could go out and get a 1st option through the trade market or through free agency in 2027, right? And that's the big difference between some other organizations, right? Charlotte's not going out there and grabbing that 1st option in free agency. They're not going to be a destination that a superstar puts on their list to go and get, to be traded to. So that's where the big difference is. So worst case scenario for Brooklyn is you're hoping for your 2nd and 3rd option players long-term to be your drafted players to then go out and try and go grab an Anthony Edwards or a Devin Booker or a Jokic or a Giannis, players of that nature, right? And I think that's where the big difference is between Brooklyn's rebuild and a lot of other, smaller market rebuilds.
Not yet. I'm sure that'll happen at some point. I don't even consider it slander. Slander is something that's not true. Everything I say about Mikal Bridges is true, but I'm sure we will get there shortly, in due time, my friend, in due time. So obviously for the number one worst record, however you want the worst record, whatever, however you want to phrase that, the worst record in the NBA. You're going to have to compete with Utah, and Utah is better at tanking. So if we finish with the 2nd worst record, then the worst we could pick is 6. Is that right?
Yes.
Like, we both know that Utah is going to finish with a worse record because they're just better at this than we are, right?
It's really just going to come down to the development of Ace. If Ace is a guy that looks like he is developing well and that is going to be a hit, I don't see them purposely wanting to tank because they pretty much have a solidified core of players, right? They have Larry Markkinen, they have Ace, they have Keontae George. They have a solid group going for them to where then they can look to expand upon with their cap space.
Well, I would say this: if I'm Utah and Ace looks like a hit right away, and Ace looks like the shot maker that we think he may be, I'm just going to run
look like your 2nd option long term.
I'm going to run my offense entirely through him and let him turn, because he's not the smartest cookie out there. I'm a huge Ace Bailey fan. I'm just saying he's only 18. I'm going to run my entire offense through him and let him put up a bunch of bad shots and turn the ball over, and I'm going to lose games that way. You know what I'm saying? If Ace Bailey is as good as advertised, he's 18, 19 years old. You're going to run your offense through him. He's going to make a ton of mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to lose games that way. Like, I just think Utah is better at this than we are. Like, even I think their roster is 10 times better than ours, and their roster is garbage. Our roster is painfully bad. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I still think somehow Utah's going to finish with a worse record. Am I just being pessimistic?
It's more so just a PTSD, which is understandable. Yeah. I mean, like, it is completely justifiable to believe that the Nets will find a way to screw this up because we have every single year. So, again, it really just depends. The start of the season is going to dictate a lot. And in the first 10 games, if you're not, hopefully 2-8, worst case 3-7, then you're probably going to look at a very frustrating season for fans who want to tank again. It doesn't really feel like there is a reason for this team not to be at worst or at best 3-7 to start the year, but we'll see.
Here's my prediction. I want your prediction. We finished with the third worst record in the NBA, and we picked fourth. That's my prediction. Give me yours.
I think that we finished with the second worst record in basketball.
And Utah has the worst?
I don't know who exactly has
okay.
it.
And then
but I do think that there is a world where Brooklyn finishes with either the worst or the second worst. It's just, again, it comes down to the depth of the team, right? If this team had the Schroeders and the DFS and the Cam Johnsons, guys who can play, a handful of minutes plus some, utilize them with bench units, then I would, agree that there is probably a higher chance that the Nets find a way to screw this up. But when I'd say about 85 of your depth is based on 24-year-olds and younger who have minimal NBA experience, if any, that's where I will say, that there seems to be a higher likely chance that this team loses, especially in those bench minutes, right? If you're smart, your bench unit should look like Traore, Drake Powell, Dariq Whitehead, Noah Clowney, and Day'Ron Sharpe, right?
Yeah.
That is a all 24 and younger roster on your depth who will likely not affect the game of winning in those bench unit minutes, especially against teams who are in playoff contention or in, playoff contention. So it's really going to just depend on how the bench unit is utilized. If you're using some vets, then you could see a closer game in those bench minutes than what you would want. So yeah, I mean, it's really going to depend, but the depth of this team is very young, it's very inexperienced, and it should result in a lot of losses.
I want you to address this comment. Utah roster ain't that bad. I think it's pretty bad. It doesn't even compare to the Nets. Like, if we're saying that these are the two worst rosters, they're not even, to me, they're not even in the same stratosphere on how bad they are. The Nets roster is historically bad, I believe. But what are your thoughts on this? Like, we talked about, Toronto's roster not being bad last year. We talked about Charlotte's roster not being all that bad. You talk about Washington's roster not being all that bad. How do you feel about this comment? Utah's roster ain't that bad.
I mean, I would agree to an extent. I don't think that they are absolute dog shit, but I also don't think that they're even close to being a play-in team.
Right.
So yeah, they're still one of your worst rosters in basketballs. And I see another comment saying, did losing games work last year? Nobody bought into losing. Nobody bought into development. So no, we didn't actually see a tanking season. That team was going out there and trying to compete every night. That's not a losing season. So I'll take the draft lottery odds seriously when I see my team bottom out and do what's necessary to receive the highest pick possible. That's when you can dictate whether or not it works or not.
If this team goes out and wins 25, 26, 27 games again like last year, and they finish 5 from the bottom, what do we do, Dylan?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
What if this team goes out like last year? They win 25, 26, 27 games, about the same record as they had last year. And, we finished, 5 from the bottom. There are 4 or 5 teams worse than us. What do we do?
The game plan doesn't change for me. You don't own your 2027 pick. You go out and try and improve the roster to some sorts. I think that not owning your own pick has historically been horrible for the Nets. Every single time, or at least 95% of the time that the Nets do not own their own pick, it becomes a top 5 pick, or it becomes a star caliber.
It's Dame Lillard. Yeah.
It is Dame Lillard. It is Jaylen Brown.
Jason
Tatum. It is, one of the second rounders turned into Draymond Green. Like, every pick that the Nets do not own has a higher chance of hitting than when, we own it, which is a problem, which can also go back to managerial and front office decision making. But at the end of the day, you don't own your 2027 pick, and it's Houston that has your swap. You are not going to be in a position where you're even close to the lottery. Houston is a contending team. That pick is going to be in the mid to late 20s. So
it might be 30. Who knows?
It very well could be 30, right? So to me, it's the same exact game plan. If this team can't tank properly and they have guys who are looking like 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd options, then regardless, you're looking to improve the depth of the roster the following season. The play-in for the start of the 2027 season is the bare minimum. That's what you're looking at. Whether it is with drafted players in the top 5 this upcoming season, or if it's, you get screwed again and you're in that 7 through 9 range. No matter what, you're looking to improve the roster for the following season.
I wanted to give 2 bold predictions about this rookie class, and I want you to give a bold prediction. My bold prediction: both Trey and Yegor both make all rookie second team. That's my prediction for this year.
I think Yegor makes all rookie first.
Oh, there you go. It's rough. It's a top heavy class.
I could see him very well averaging 12, 5, and 5, or I would probably 12, 4, and 5.5. Right, and that's not bad for a rookie year. Again, it's going to come down to the physicality, the overall muscle growth, and the ability to get past a defender. Right, that's going to really dictate whether or not he's going to take the next step. He's proven that he can shoot the ball. He doesn't do it, in the prettiest way possible, but he does it, and he does it fairly well, a lot better than many critics and draft analysts expected. So, to me, at this point now, it's can he run an NBA offense and can he improve his overall offensive game?
Yeah, no, I think we agree. I said if he can shoot the ball, he's going to be a very good player. If he can't shoot the ball, he's going to be a backup point guard. Like that's how important. I think we're seeing now that he can shoot the ball. So he's going to be a very good NBA player, right? Like Josh Giddey shot the ball well last year. Well enough. He's a very good player. I think that's kind of what you can look for in Yegor. So yeah, all rookie first team is going to be tough, but he's going to get the minutes and he's going to get the opportunity. He's going to have the ball in his hands enough to put up the numbers that would put him on that team. And I think Trey, as the season gets going, as we get into midseason, Trey is a blur. That guy was so fast in the summer league. He's going to see the court. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to score some points. So I think he's going to have the stats to put him on all rookie second team. So that's kind of my thoughts. I think, is he going to be one of the 10 best rookies in the class? I don't know, but he's going to have the opportunity to put up stats that are going to get him on that team. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree. Again, to me, Traore's development is really going to come down to can he expand his offensive game? He already looks like he can guard the perimeter very well for his size and his position. And his first step, driving to the rim, he's able to get to the rim with ease. It's going to come down to, again, filling out muscle-wise to be able to take contact and finish at the rim, but also expanding his game. The one thing that I absolutely hated about Traore's game in Summer League was the fact that he refused to look at the mid-range, right? He'd get past the defender, somebody would be waiting for him down low, but he would go out of his way to continue trying to push the rim, right? And I think that you need to figure out a way to take that shot when you have the open opportunity and expand your game, whether it's a mid-range or a 3.
The next thing I wanted to move into was we're just less than 3 weeks away now from the start of the preseason. What do you want to see? What do you expect from the preseason? What do you want to see in the preseason specifically?
Again, I think it's really just seeing how Yegor has filled out over the offseason in the weight room and his ability to get past the defender. That's the first thing. The second would be just Drake Powell's overall impact. Can he be the 3-and-D Herb Jones that we're all hoping for? Has Traore expanded his offensive game to where he's comfortable taking a 3 or noticing that there is a bigger defender that's going to throw his mid-range off, or throw his finishing ability off. So will he be taking the mid-range shots? That's what I'm primarily looking at. I don't give a shit about Cam Thomas this year. I will reiterate it like I did the day that he signed the qualifying offer. I don't give a shit about what Cam Thomas does on this team next year because I don't think he will be here the year following.
Which is why it made no sense to bring him back. No, Dylan, I agree. I don't care what Cam Thomas does at all. Like zero. He's the least important player on this team because he's not going to be here next year, which is why I said just don't even bring him back. But
I agree. Yeah. Again, same thing for guys like Nick Claxton. I'm a Claxton guy. I've always wanted to see him become the best player possible, but I don't care what he does next year. If there's one year that I hope he doesn't expand his game, it's this upcoming year. Don't improve. You haven't improved in 3 years. Don't do it this year. So it's really just going to come down to the rookie class. That is all I'm focused on this year. I'm focused on Day'Ron Sharpe, Noah Clowney, and then of course Michael Porter Jr. I think those are the only 6 players I would say.
Well, I'm interested in all the rookies. I don't expect anything out of Saraf and Wolf. Nothing. Zero. But I'm excited to see him play. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'm a Nets fan. I think Ben Saraf is a terrible pick. I don't think it made any sense. I don't want him here. But if he's going to be here, I hope I'm wrong. I'm a Nets fan. I want Ben Saraf to be excellent. I just can't see that happening. And the same thing with Wolf. I think when we go back and look at it at the end of the day, Drew Timmy's better than Wolf.
That's to an extent. I mean, Wolf has the floor spacing ability, and he also has the overall playmaking ability that Timmy doesn't have. So again, it's really just going to come down to what works best. And it's going to also just come down to the development, right? Like Jokic wasn't a first round pick. Sengun wasn't a top 5 pick. Like these are guys that have similar play styles to Wolf. It's just, can they get the best out of them? And the Nets historically, with Sean Marks at the helm, has not been able to get the best out of certain players. So, am I expecting a miracle with some of those guys? Probably not.
But like we talk about Joker. I don't know why, he went in the second round. But did you ever hear what Mike Miller said about Joker?
Yeah, that when they drafted him, he knew that he was the guy.
He's the best player.
Yeah, like a lot of players have a sense where they can tell.
Here. Yeah.
And again, that really just comes down to the dedication to developing a player, and it comes down to the opportunities that the player is given early in their career, right? If you're not going to start Yegor Demon, and if you're not going to give, 18 plus minutes a night to Nolan Traore and Drake Powell, you're not going to get the best out of them, right? The only example of a team that's been able to do that is OKC, and it's because their last 3 first picks of their draft have missed the entire season to an injury, right? Chet, Nikola Topic, and now Thomas Sorbo will be next. But the biggest difference is that they are able to improve upon some of those weaknesses even while they're rehabbing, right? Nikola Topic came into the league not known to be able to get past the defender and not known to be able to take contact. Well, in the summer league, he showed that he put on over 20 pounds of muscle and that he was able to fight through contact to finish at the rim. Same thing with Chet Holmgren. Came into the league as a beanpole, still a beanpole, but has been able to play down low and do it fairly well. I mean, he's a top tier defender in the league. So to me, that's the approach that you have to take. You just need to invest. If you're going to rebuild, you need to invest in your youth, not your guys who are entering years 4 through 7, right? You need to develop these players and give them the opportunities necessary to make the mistakes, learn from them, and improve as a player.
I agree with the comment. Dennis Milton, I think, is on point today. We have to admit we have a better coach than before. Yeah, this team, we had Atkinson, but yeah, I think we have the right coach, and that's what kind of makes, when you're looking to lose and you have a coach who I think is a good coach who wants to win every game. I don't blame him. Like I don't blame Jordy for wanting to win every game. And this is why I don't think that they're going to end up with the worst record in the NBA, because Jordy Fernandez wants to win every game. And I can't blame him, but he doesn't see it as a big picture. He's saying, I'm the head coach of the team. You paid me to win games. That's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? That's how he's going to view it. And
at the end of the day, I don't value coaching as much as some other people do, right? LeBron James had Tyronn Lue, and the year before he had, David Griffin, right?
LeBron James, bro. Come on.
Okay. So I'll use a different example. Jason Tatum. He has played alongside Brad Stevens, Ime Udoka, and now Joe Mazzulla. And all 3 of those times with those different coaches, they've made an Eastern Conference Finals. Does it come down to the talent or the coaching? You need better talent than you need a better coach. That's just a fact.
I agree with that. Right? Agreed. Yeah, it's not football.
And
Football's the other way around.
That's why you saw under Jacques Vaughn in 18, or I'm sorry, was it Jacques Vaughn where the Nets were 18-2 before trading KD and Kyrie, right? Was that the first year of Jacques Vaughn, quarter of the way through the season after firing?
Yeah,
Nash?
it was
right.
Vaughn, yeah.
That's what I'm saying, right? It does not really matter the coach. Yes, you need a solid coach, but you don't need a great coach. You need great talent, and that's the biggest difference, right? You have a great coach, which is great, but you have not seen him with a star. You have not seen him making attempts to compete. You can only really judge a coach so much based on a rebuild until they start getting into that picture of winning. Is he going to be able to outcoach a team that's currently winning when it comes to a 7-game series? And we don't know nor should care about until we get to that point.
Let me throw this out there. The Knicks. I don't care what you think about Thibodeau. His offense is disgusting. It looks like something from the 80s
it works.
or 90s.
It's worked with every team that he's worked.
When you say every team that he's worked with. If they had a real offense, that wasn't just Jalen Brunson pounds the air out of the basketball, you run a little bit of pick and roll with Cat. If they had a real offense, would they beat Indiana last year?
Again, it really depends. Indiana's coach, what is it, Rick Carlisle? Out-coached Tom Thibodeau.
So badly.
He made the adjustments
that's my point.
necessary. But at the same time, too, it's also who buys into the system, right? Like, Jalen Brunson plays the same way every game. He's going to take possessions away from certain people. He's not going to look to pass the ball first. Same thing for Karl Anthony Towns. You have to have guys who are bought into a system. Andrew Nembhard was a nobody coming into the league and has now become one of the best 3-and-D guards in the league, right? Yeah. Pascal Siakam, not traditionally known as a second option, right? He looked good in Toronto next to Kawhi during his early days, but when Kawhi left, Pascal Siakam was putting up empty calorie numbers, right? He comes to Indiana and he buys into a system. His defense improved, his rebounding improved, his playmaking improved, right? Same thing for Miles Turner. You're probably going to see a significant dip in overall impact on the game for Miles Turner in Milwaukee compared to what it was in Indiana because there was a set system in Indiana. So to me, you really have to just the guys who make it far are bought into a system, right? LeBron James was bought in to Cleveland and trying to make them the most successful organization that he could possibly do. And he did that without Kyrie during his early days. He did it with Kyrie, and he did it for a year after Kyrie. So it really just comes down to who's bought in. Indiana was more bought into what their team was trying to accomplish than what the Knicks were.
I want to address this. Jacques Vaughn could have been replaced with a trash can. Still better coach. Perhaps. Yeah. Although Jacques Vaughn, when they were in the bubble after they fired Atkinson, Vaughn had him grinding on defense. He had him playing pretty well. He had LeVert. LeVert looked like an all-star that year. Like I don't know. I mean, it certainly didn't go well with Vaughn after that. His second run as the Nets head coach, but in that first run, didn't you think that he was adequate?
Not really.
Okay.
Right. I mean, listen, you can any head coach that is brought into an organization midway through a season after firing somebody, again, 9 times out of 10 is not going to be your guy, right? Kevin Ali had flashes of looking good coaching wise, and they didn't bring him back. You know, same thing with Steve Nash. It's just when you usually when you completely dismantle a coaching staff at any point in the season, whether it's one game after the season begins or if it's midway through the season, usually you're not getting a good coach. Like, you need to do research. You need to do an extensive interview and background process on coaching before you make a decision. Just to elevate an assistant because you didn't like what the head coach was doing usually doesn't work.
No, it's usually, we saw this. We watched football. We watched the Jets. They fired Saleh for being awful, which he was. And then they elevated Ulbrich, the DC, who was the worst thing. It was probably the worst coach I'd ever seen. No, you're right. It usually doesn't work. There's a reason why you go through so many candidates, go through so many interviews, hire an entire team to go and find the right guy. There's a reason for this, right? Like, it's a very, very important job to hire the right head coach. I 100%. Think the Nets have done it. We're going to find out. But yeah, just elevating the next guy on the next man up off the bench, an assistant, usually doesn't work. Now, you could hit the lottery and it could work out, but typically it's going to fail more often than not.
Yeah.
As far as the guys, the young guys who we still don't know about, Clowney, Whitehead in particular, this is year 3 for them. Mm-hmm. I still don't know what these guys are. What do you want to see out of Whitehead and Clowney in the offseason, in the preseason? And is Clowney is Whitehead just basically going to be replaced by Drake Powell?
I definitely think Whitehead will be replaced, but there is a world where they can work together. Like, it's not out of the picture just yet. So to me, this is the make or break year for Drake Powell or for Dariq Whitehead.
Whitehead.
Yes.
Agreed.
As for Clowney, I think Clowney will be here next year. I think where his value is going to be looked at is he going to be the guy that ups his value to a point where you can include him in a package down the line for a star, right? Like some guys are solidified, some guys are meant to be risen in terms of value to be able to then flip them for something better. Like Jared Allen, for example. You had options out there to improve the roster, and they ultimately decided to go with James Harden. So it's like certain guys you want to just see get better, so this way you know that their value is higher around the league. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for Noah Clowney. Just show me that you can stay healthy and show me that you can slightly improve your game. That's the biggest things that I'm looking at.
This is a big year for Clowney, but I think Clowney is a guy that's going to be a contributing player in the league for a long time to come. Now, what does that mean? Is it a starter? Is it a rotational player? Is it a second? I don't know yet. But Clowney, to me, his length, his ability to shoot, he's going to be. I think he's going to be here for a while, but he's definitely going to be contributing in the league for a while. Like he's going to be a contributing player in the league.
Definitely.
We don't know that about Whitehead. Although, like, Whitehead played very few minutes so far, and last year he shot the ball well. Like.
Yeah. Small sample size, but he definitely showcased that he has some form of NBA talent. Again, when he was coming into the league out of Duke, this was a guy who, had the ability to put the ball on the floor and use his athleticism to finish at the rim. Can he get back to that after some of the significant injuries he's dealt with early on in his career is going to be the question mark. But even if not, is he a guy that can kind of transition into that 3-and-D mentality player where, you're going to be efficient from three and you're just going to give your effort on defense? That's valuable in the NBA. So it's like, does he have a chance of still making it? Sure. Even if he doesn't make it with the Nets, does he have an opportunity elsewhere? Most likely. Sure. I would say this is his make or break year specifically in Brooklyn.
So Jordy said that we're going to have a 10-man rotation. He's going to use 10 guys. Who are those 10 guys going to be?
You're probably looking, starting five, Yegor, Devin, Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., maybe you could say Noah Clowney and Nick Claxton. Off the bench, you're probably looking at Nolan Traore, Drake Powell, Dariq Whitehead, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Terrence Mann. Yeah, I didn't even say Zaire in there. That's how deep in terms of just the overall players, the amount of players numbered on the roster are. It's not that it's a deep roster. It's just there's so many guys on it that you can't really tell who's going to be.
You didn't say Haywood Highsmith either, right?
Yeah. No, it's.
So you're going to have to play Haywood Highsmith if you want to trade him, I would imagine.
To an extent, maybe, but he is also coming off of an injury, so it could just be like a rehab and try and send out,
Yeah, you wouldn't rush him back, right? You wouldn't rush him back. You would, yeah, okay, yeah. To start this season, I don't think Haywood Smith.
Kind of similar to like Bojan Bogdanovic, right? Even though we didn't end up trading him, it's like rehab him, and then you can either buy him out or you can look to flip him.
Hey Smith, I still think has value to a good team. I don't think
I 100% agree. I think he's definitely worth 2 seconds, and like in a contract that's double the amount of his as like a salary filler to get some form of cap space in there. But yeah, it's going to really depend on how they want to utilize it. I don't think that there's going to be a set in stone 10-man rotation. I think that it's going to really come down to which rookies showcase the ability to play some form of significant minutes, right? So I don't see Seraph and Wolf playing at all this year, or at least the first half of the year. Drake Powell is probably a guy that's going to have to earn his minutes. Dariq Whitehead is likely to have those minutes before him. You have to find minutes for Zaire Williams and Terrence Mann. The NBA is politics, right? If you are making more money and if you are a vet, you're going to be given a little bit more opportunities than rookies, which, again, for a rebuilding team, is that smart? No. But is that how the NBA works and the MLB works and the NFL works? Yes. So, again, it's really just going to depend. If it was my decision today to make a 10-man rotation, it would be Yegor, Cam Thomas, Michael Porter Jr., Noah Clowney, and Claxton starting with Day'Ron Sharpe, Nolan Traore, Drake Powell, Dariq Whitehead, and Zaire Williams off the bench.
I guess I would agree with that to me, and this is why I don't want Cam. This is why if you weren't going to keep Cam Thomas long term, I didn't want him here. It's because now I'm giving that rotational minutes to Cam Thomas. And this is going to, you people are going to get pissed at me for saying this, but I would rather see Whitehead or Ben Surratt get those minutes. Why? Because they may be here. I don't know if they are or they aren't. Well, Surratt's going to be here for 4 years. But I don't know what Whitehead or Surratt's future looks like. I know Cam Thomas's future does not include him playing for the Brooklyn Nets. So now he's just taking away minutes from guys I could be developing.
100%.
That's why it made no sense to me to bring him back. And now you're going to have Jordy's going to play him. Jordy's going to play him 30 minutes a game, 32 minutes a game.
See, the thing is, right, is like, do you play him a little early on in the season and then you try and piss him off to a point where he just accepts a deal so this way he can get out and play? That's what I would do. At this point, we know you are going to leave us in free agency. Either you can sit out the entire year or you can accept one of the trades that we find for you and you can just get the fuck out.
But you can do that. That's probably what's going to happen.
That's what I at least hope should happen, right? Because it's like, again, I like Cam Thomas. I am not a Cam Thomas hater, but I am also not a guy that believes in him to be your first option and your Lord and Savior. He's just not that. So if you're not going to be bought in,
but he also wasn't asking for $60 million. He was also demanding $60 million a year. He was asking for 20, which I think
30. He was asking for 30, and some sources were saying up to 40. He was comparing.
Well, 40 was a slap back in you. 40 was a slap back in you. Once you said 14, he said 40. That's not even discussed.
And to me that says fuck you. Go sign this contract.
No, that's exactly what it says.
We can get you out of here. Right? So it's
I think 14 is the same.
And that's why I think you just have to strain the relationship even more, right? We're not benefiting from you putting up 26 a game. We're not benefiting from you improving your skill set anymore because we know that no matter how much you improve, you're going to look at us as a second option when it comes to you hitting the open market and free agency. You're not coming back. We know that you don't want to be here. We know that your agent doesn't want you to be here. We know that you weren't willing to be here. Just leave. Just get out. Demand the trade. We'll sit you out for the season until we find something for you. So this way you don't get injured. That's how I would look at it. I don't want to see Cam Thomas play on the Nets next season. I don't.
And that's why I don't. And I'm a Cam Thomas fan. I have a Cam Thomas jersey. I love Cam Thomas. It doesn't make any sense for him to be here. This is what I was trying to say. There's no benefit in having him here because he's not going to be here long term. And by long term, I mean beyond this season. So now we're going to go through all this hassle. We're going to have to have this whole debate on how much we play him, should we play him, whatever it may be.
To me,
and then try to trade him for a second-round pick. The second-round pick isn't worth all the headache to me. It's not worth the headache.
To me, he should not see the floor at all this season when it comes to the fourth quarter. When the fourth quarter hits and that 12-minute clock starts, Cam Thomas should not be on the floor. Does that mean that I think he impacts the game of winning? No. It's just simply, we don't want you here because you didn't want to be here. So let us work on a trade with you and get out. We value other people more than you.
You're going to have to damage his value so much that he accepts the trade out because I think he took the qualifying offer.
Yeah, he's damaged his own value. When you're put in a position where you're making $6 million on a no trade clause deal, you've already damaged your value. The Nets aren't going to receive maximum return for him, nor is he going to get the maximum return that he wants in terms of the value of the team that wants him. Right? He's going to go and get teams like contending teams who have Dalton Connects or who have, players who are in that $3 to $10 million range that can't offer too much, but also aren't going to guarantee him a starting spot. His next spot, if he is going to accept a deal in terms of a trade, is likely going to be a team that's going to get him for a cheaper deal than what most would expect, and also going to be a team that's mainly utilizing a six-man, not a guy that they see as a long-term star fit. That's just the truth. Because Cam Thomas isn't a guy in this league that is going to be viewed as a second or third option. He's going to be viewed as a top-tier scorer off the bench.
I would have had this conversation with Cam Thomas. I would have talked to him like a man. I said, look, you're a good player. We don't value what you bring as far as your skill set. That's not to say you don't have a skill set. We just don't value it in the sense of what we're looking to do. So you're not going to be here long term. So I can give you two options. I can give you the $14 million deal, or I can just cut you loose. I won't offer you. You can go explore something else. What would you like to do? And then put the ball in his court. Like, this is what I'm offering you. I'm going to offer you the $14 million a year for 2 years. or you can go somewhere else. And that's how I would have laid it out to the table. Just talk to him like a man. How it was handled. Now he's on the qualifying. Like, I don't understand. I'll never understand why they tenured him and tendered him and gave him the qualifying offer. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I'm either going to give you this tradable deal, which I think is $14 million a year is what you're worth. I'm either going to give you this or I'm going to give you nothing, and I'll let you pick. And that's how I would have talked to him.
And this is where I can appreciate some people's fandom and delusion, because this is a genuine sickness amongst all fan bases that is not pointed out enough. There is a bigger picture at hand. Cam is not leaving. That's pure delusion. It's pure delusion.
I want to be factual
here
on
after
this
next season.
Do you guys want to hear the entire list of players who have ever taken the qualifying offer and then signed a long-term deal with that team? Do you want to hear the entire list?
There's one player?
Spencer Hawes. That's the entire list. That's it. That's the whole list with Philly. So Cam Thomas ain't going to be here, guys. Like, it's what it is. He's not going to be here. The Nets don't value him. He doesn't fit in what the Nets say they want to do. They've already drafted 5 guards. If they draft Darren Peterson next year, let's say I get what I want, which is Darren Peterson. You think he's going to be here?
Hell no. Darren Peterson in high school is more valuable than Cam Thomas is heading into his 5th year. And I will die on that hill. It's not an insult. It's just factual. Some people do have a closed mind in terms of their fan way of thinking. And it is a delusion. That's not an insult. That's just factual. I was delusional that Nick Claxton would be able to develop a 3-ball for the last 3 years, and he hasn't. I can admit to it. It's delusion. And that's okay, because if you have a player that you enjoy, that you really believe in, hey, by all means, kudos to you. Stay with it. But when we're right, just don't be surprised. That's all I'm saying. You know, I've stated this in numerous podcast episodes, whether it's ours or other people's. I want to be proven wrong, because a lot of the times I'm not. And that's not saying that I'm a genius. That's just saying that I see the patterns of the NBA and how it works, right? When you watch it long enough and when you study it long enough, you start to see how things work, right? Even the debate that we had earlier, what's more valuable, the 5th pick in the draft or the 8th? It doesn't seem like a big difference, but when you look at the players who were drafted in those positions, it's a big difference, right? You got De'Aaron Foxes, Trae Youngs, players of that nature at 5. You know, you got Frank Ntilikina and players like that at 8. It's a very big difference, you know? So I hope that I'm wrong. I always say that. I would prefer to be wrong about my team, because a lot of the times if I am wrong about the Nets, it's actually going to benefit them, right? I think worst case scenario. And a lot of the times worst case scenario is what happens. I'm more of a realist, right? I don't have a lot of hope, whether it's within sports, life, whatever it may be. Like I'm very realistic with what's going to happen, right? Because be prepared for the worst. So that's my way of thinking. Is it, the most positive way of thinking? No. But if I'm wrong, it's going to benefit me. It's going to benefit the team that I watch. It's going to benefit my life, like whatever it may be. I'm always going to be prepared for the worst, though. So that's just my way of thinking. I lower my expectations so this way I'm not, I don't feel that I'm getting failed by what I'm watching or what I'm doing. Pessimistic way of thinking, but that's just the truth. I hope that I'm proven wrong. That's all I can say.
All right.
I think Leaf really badly wants to get in here. Do we have some time, or are we getting ready to wrap up?
Leaf, you want to jump in? Yeah. Hop in. 20 minutes?
Pop Leaf a link.
There you go, Leaf.
Apparently not being happy-go-lucky kumbaya is frustrating him. Let's see. Unless if he was throwing the shaking my head emojis for the link. But let's hear it. Our dear friend, the new Texan himself. I think he's been down there for 2 months now. Welcome in, Leaf. How are we doing today, my man?
I'm all right. Yes, I have been down here for 2 months.
How are you enjoying it?
It's all right. It's a lot of open space. It's the first place I ever been where if you wake up at a certain time of the day, you can see the moon and stars and the sun all at once.
It's a very interesting transition from New York life, right?
Yeah. I can say, bro, in the last 2 months, I saved more money in 2 months than I did in 37 years.
There you go.
In New York, I can say that. I mean, It's nothing that I necessarily
stressful economically on you. Like financially,
by
you don't
far.
feel as forced to like struggle and to move at a faster pace. It's definitely a more laid back.
Yeah, it's
Southern
also
definitely
a lot easier to save money because there's a lot less things to do. You got to go look for things to do, whereas New York, they're just there, right? Like
as a New York, it's like waving. It's like right in front of your face. Hey,
yeah,
new restaurant. Hey, new food. It's right down the street. You want to come get it? You know, it's right in. It's basically his arm's reach, bro. Like, but I'm in a town with less than 12,000 people, so I mean,
Yep.
listen, like that's like a huge. That's basically like a 180 from what I'm accustomed to. You know what I'm saying? Because as an adult, I could probably name on one time, like in my life in New York, that I had a bill in my name, and it's for a reason. It's because of the economy out there. But out here, man, I got like 5 bills in my name, and I'm not even stressing. So
There you
it
go.
is what it is, man. But I think that it's kind of funny to me when the second that Dylan talks about patterns, the pattern that Dylan is mostly referring to is just the draft pick within itself. That's what I'm thinking to my, like, because he's told me millions and millions and millions and billions of times that you get somebody within the top 10 or the top 5, however it goes, and that's the long-term plan going forward. What I'm trying to explain to Dylan is at no point in Nets history has that ever been the case. Now you can go back to the Jersey years, you can go back to J Kidd years, you can go back to any years that you want. It's never been the case. It's one of the reasons why the Brooklyn Nets have Kenyon Martin, Derek Coleman, Kenny Anderson, and Buck Williams at round tables, thinking about the years that was, and Brooke Lopez somehow is not invited to those years. So
Well,
I
still an
don't know.
active player.
Yeah,
I'll give the
yeah.
benefit of the doubt there. But
Yeah. I give him the benefit of the doubt. He's still an active player, but what I'm saying is, when it comes to the Nets, as in historically, we're one of those teams that was always closer to a market to not necessarily lean on. Like the draft picks was never their bread and butter.
see, but
Not
how?
to,
See, my argument with it is simply just how can we say that draft picks has never been the thing when we haven't owned our own draft picks for 5 consecutive years, like ever. You know what I mean? Like
right.
if you were to really go through a 4 full year rebuild and have all of your picks and all of those picks be in the top 10, then I would start to consider what you're saying. But when you have one pick at 8 this year, and then you're going to have another pick potentially in the top 10 this year, and then after that you're not going to have your own pick, and then the year after that you're more likely to be in the play-in or playoff contention picture than you are going to be in the lottery picture. So you really have only 2 years of a rebuild under your belt in terms of picks. Right? We've never seen it to where you own 4 of them. We saw Boston own 2 of them. Actually, we saw them own 3 of them, and 2 of them turned out to be stars. So it's like,
Dylan, what if I told you in the 90s and the 2000s, obviously I'm not referring to the last 10 or 12 years we've been in Brooklyn, but what if I told you in most of the 90s and the 2000s, the Nets were in the lottery, and I can probably name 5 names that you might remember from those lottery picks, and you're gonna be like, and then and the other names I name off, you're gonna be like, who? Huh?
I think the only debating point that I can give you is just the simplicity of how the skill set of NBA players has developed over time, right? Like realistically, again, in the 70s for football, the Dan Marinos and the Joe Montanas and players of that nature, they looked great then, but they're not going to be great in today's NFL. You know what I mean? It's
but let me push back real quick. Like, we just looked at the Knicks draft pick. The Knicks, with all top 10 picks, picked Frank Ntilikina, Knox, and Obi Toppin. Like,
again,
Obi Toppin's an NBA player. The other 2 are not.
Exactly.
Again, we're looking at a 10-year span. We're looking at a 2-year span.
Wait,
right?
didn't they pick Emmanuel quickly too?
Well, yeah, but Quickly's good. Like,
He's solid. I wouldn't say he's good, but he's solid.
Okay, all right. So if we go look at like R.J. Barrett,
One of the best third
is
options
still
in
playing.
basketball
Is still playing. R.J. Barrett is still playing. Quickly is still playing. Obi Toppin was just in the finals. Like
And he
this is all.
and he improved
This
tremendously.
right, and this
since
is
going to
all
Indiana.
This is all drafted talent by the Tangerines. Just to say, just to say this: Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, who else?
You're
I
also looking
believe.
at later picks. But that's my point, though, right? The
Yeah. No,
quality
no,
of
no.
the pick is going to determine
Listen.
on the position of the pick.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, but the picks are the picks. The only other pick that means something in terms of top 10 value right now is obviously Jaeger, because
Yep.
that's the only pick that. If I'm not mistaken, Derek Favors was top 3. Where is he now?
Yeah, he was number 3.
Okay.
But again, you're so again though, you can call it an excuse all you want, but when you're looking at how the NBA was starting to modernize during that time period of when Favors was drafted, look at some of the centers that were coming out of the drafts higher up in the picks compared to the players who were lasting long term, right? Favors was one of those guys who came into the league with an extreme level of talent for a traditional big man, but the NBA was moving into a more modernized big man where they can space the floor, where they're a bit more mobile, where they can play make. Favors didn't have that, right? So
Right.
you started seeing the transition between, sure, this guy was taken high in the draft, but he wasn't a long-lasting NBA player because he didn't transition well into the NBA. The only two bigs in that time frame who transitioned into the NBA
Brooke
and made them,
Lopez.
Brooke Lopez and Al Horford, were the only two during those early, 2008 through 2012 draft classes that
They
were able
managed
to
to carve
actually,
out very long careers
yes, they
because
were
they
able to
extend.
develop
Yes.
long term. Yep, they were
Yes,
able to
because they was able
okay,
to expand. They was able to expand to what the modern NBA wanted, and
100%.
they both became champions. Because of that,
Yep.
because of their way of expanding. I understand that. However, if you're gonna tell me that the last couple of years, in these couple of years moving forward, where we have draft picks and where we had draft
Which
picks, in
years though?
you
Because
you just
we
you
only
just told
had
me the
this
last 5 years.
last 5 years we've had one lottery pick.
Okay, listen. I don't. If you're going to tell me that the talent gap is bigger, bro, like you telling me you just referring to lottery picks. I'm referring to the whole first round.
Okay, because I was going to say, because I don't know how long you've been in here, but we had this talking point actually as the first segment of the show, and we can pull it
Okay.
back up just to have you a little bit more well-rounded with what we were talking about. We were
Okay.
looking at the history since 2017 up until I believe it was 2022 on the 5th overall pick compared to the 8th overall pick, and it was kind of my debating point on why the Nets need to be the worst team in basketball, right? The worst team in basketball is guaranteed a top 5 pick no matter what. The comparisons to the 5th overall pick compared to the 8th overall pick is a massive difference. The 3 first 5th overall picks that we talked about, what was it? De'Aaron Fox, Trae Young, and who?
There was Garland.
Yeah,
it
was
the
those
fifth
3.
pick
Garland,
was still
Fox,
a very
and
high impact player.
Right.
The 8th pick,
Yeah.
the only one that hit was Wagner. Really
Yeah.
hit, like impact player hit. Was Wagner.
And since 2017, Wagner was the only 8th overall pick that you can considerably say is hit. So that's why I'm saying the difference in pick, it all comes down to the quality and position of the pick, which is why you need to either A, fully invest in getting the highest pick possible, which is why I've been saying for the past 6 months, the floor of the pick is more important than the ceiling of the pick, right? You're the worst team in basketball like Utah was this past year. You got the 5th overall pick and you got Ace Bailey, who's likely to be the 3rd highest upside player in this year's draft. That's great value, right?
Okay. All right. So listen, I understand this, but remember we was just talking about the Knicks picks, bro. Kevin Knox, if I'm not mistaken, was a lottery pick.
He was.
Frank
I believe he was the 9th
Tequila,
overall
if I'm
pick.
not mistaken, was a lottery pick.
He was.
Obi Toppin was not, if I'm not mistaken,
No,
and
I
he's
believe
still in the
Obi was.
league.
I believe Obi was.
I could look
Obi
at
was
it.
a lottery pick. He was like late lottery. He was a lottery pick.
He was late
I
lottery.
believe he was 13th.
Yeah.
No, he was 8th. He was 8th.
Eighth.
He was
Yeah.
8th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obi Toppin went 8th.
Yeah,
he did win it. He
Obi
didn't
Toppin
win.
was selected with the 8th overall pick.
Frank
in the 2020
Ntilikina,
With the 8th
Scott,
overall
and
pick.
Obi were all
Okay.
top 10 picks.
Oh, okay. All right. So look, all I'm gonna say is, obviously, bro, if everything that you're saying about the depth of today's of the drafts in the past 5 years since this decade, which is probably since this decade has started, to me, there's nothing wrong with drafting from 1 through 20 or 1 through 25. To me, there's
You're
nothing
correct
wrong.
in
Now,
terms of the depth
hold on, wait. Before you counter, I understand that we only have one lottery pick as of the Brooklyn era. I understand that, but if you're telling me in the last 5 years, that late first round picks and some second round picks that don't have no value, but now we got to grant ourselves the fact that some late first round picks are starters on key teams, and some later picks are stars or go to options on some teams.
So
You know what I'm saying? So
let me bring
like,
it to
so
you this way, right?
if you're talking about the depth of the draft, we can't just talk about the lottery picks as compared from today as back then in last decade, 10 or 20 years ago. We gotta hold it to the same scale from mostly the first round and how the first round was then and how the first round is today in the last 5 years.
So let me bring it to you this way then.
I think we at least got to do that.
Let me bring it to you this way then. Jared Allen, 22nd overall pick. Throughout his career, has he played better than a 22nd overall pick, or would you say that the 22nd pick was a perfect value for him?
He's played way better than the 22nd.
Okay. The Nets drafted him, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But he
Cam
hasn't
Thomas,
played lottery material.
as a guy who's not the biggest Cam Thomas fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Selected with the 27th overall pick, would you say that he is a 27th overall pick caliber player, or would you say that he goes a little higher or a little lower?
I say he's definitely top 20.
I agree. All right. Nick Claxton was the 31st overall pick. This is a guy who not too long ago, just 2 years ago, was in conversations for Defensive Player of the Year, right? 31st overall pick. It's the first pick in the second round. Would you say that Nick Claxton throughout the entirety of his career was a 31st overall pick or worse?
He was a first rounder. He was the first rounder for sure.
So that's why I'm saying it's not like the Nets haven't been disgraceful in their picks. It's just they haven't been able to find the guy. And that, again, comes down to the quality of the pick. The higher the pick, the higher the chance, right? Again, you look at the major difference between the 5th overall pick and the 8th overall pick, and it's a significant difference. So that's why I'm saying the lottery picks are going to be the more important picks. Have there been players outside of the lottery that hit and turn out to be top-tier role players, that turn out to be third options, turn out to be your co-star, or turn out to be your superstar? Yes. But is the likely chance of that happening just based on drafting one, two,
outside of the lottery? Yeah.
Like look at the Nets, right? There's been years where they don't even have a draft pick, right?
Right.
And those are the years where those teams find certain players in those later drafts.
Right.
We haven't had that ability to where we can draft consistently to really showcase whether or not we're going to make the right decisions. And the few times we have,
agree with that.
Cam Thomas, Nick Claxton, those have been solid, right?
Right.
So point is that you need to be able to draft talent no matter where you are, but the floor of the pick is going to be the baseline to how you're going to perform in a draft class. The worst team in basketball gets 5, right?
Right.
We were the 6th worst team. Historically, the 6th overall odds over the past 5 consistent years has not elevated into the top 5 or even stayed at 6. So it really depends on where you're drafting. It really depends on if you're going to commit to the rebuild or if you're going to just try and continue to screw around and sell tickets.
Okay, all right, but and those are all valid points. We haven't been drafting consistently in the top 10 and the top 15 to even declare that in the Brooklyn era. However, the history of the Nets, in terms of their go-to player or their star player that's going to lead them somewhere, it's never been through the draft. It's never been through the draft.
Is he a Hall of Famer?
No.
Kenny Henderson is a all-star caliber player, though, correct?
He's a one-time all-star.
Kenny Anderson was a damn good player. He's a damn
he was a damn good player, but he was a one-time all-star. He went number 2 in the draft, and he is a one-time all-star. Next,
he was an all-star, correct? How many players in the league all time can say that they're an all-star, right? It's not like being just a one-time.
As a top 3 pick in the history of this league, it's a lot of players that have been multiple-time all-stars.
Kenny Anderson is a hit. I don't care. Come on, bro.
A hit? Are you serious? What has he done?
Can you name me the players in that same draft class that went 4 through 10 just to compare whether or not it's a hit or not?
Okay, I'll give you that in a second. Hold on, because
I was gonna say because I'm not familiar with that draft class, so I.
Okay, all right. Yeah, let's go do the draft class. Okay, Larry Johnson, Dikembe Mutombo, Billy Owens at 3, Dikembe Mutombo at 4, Steve Smith at 5, Doug Smith at 6, Luke Longley at 7, Mark Macon at 8, Stacey Augmon at 9, Bison Dele at 10. Terrell Brandon,
that I would even say was better than him in his career is Dikembe and Larry Johnson.
No, so Larry Johnson's not better than Kenny Anderson.
I'll say Dikembe, Steve Smith, Terrell Brandon.
It's Kenny Anderson stand. I'm going to defend my man's right here. If you redraft this draft class, Kenny Anderson doesn't go number 2. You know where he goes? He goes number 1.
No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Mutombo goes 2.
No, he
Larry Johnson goes 3.
I think Larry
He goes
Johnson's
number 1.
debatable.
Steve
I
Smith
definitely
goes
think
4.
Dikembe is more impactful.
Mutombo is the only Hall of Famer in this draft. He's the only Hall of Famer in this draft.
Offensive game. 0.
Well, you're also talking about first ballot Hall of Famers, right? It's not like these guys can't become Hall of Famers, in a couple of years. Like
you do. Hey, listen, I get that.
You Hall of Famer, whether you're first.
Yeah. A Hall of Famer is a Hall of Famer. I mean? Yeah, I understand that. But your initial question to me was Kenny Anderson a Hall of Famer? The answer was no.
I completely
Another
agree.
question that was probably going to be asked was Kenny Anderson ever better than Larry Johnson? The answer is no. Was Kenny Anderson ever hold more value on a basketball court than Dikembe Mutombo? The answer is no.
Kenny Anderson absolutely holds more value on a basketball court than Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson,
no, he doesn't.
Cool
I think Johnson's career was more consistent, but I do think that Kenny's beginning years were more impactful.
If you say who would you rather have, Kenny Anderson at 20 years old or Larry Johnson at 20 years old, and you get him for the rest of their career, you're taking Kenny Anderson. Kenny Anderson was damn good. Larry Johnson.
He was damn good, but listen, Larry Johnson was arguably come on, are we kidding me? In Charlotte alone, he was giving you 22 and 10 at his best.
He
at
was
6'6"
rebounds a game.
Yes, he was. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it.
Larry Johnson averaged 10 rebounds a game.
Yes, he did. And in his first year, he averaged 11. He averaged 19 and 11 as a rookie.
He was a 6'6" power forward.
That's why I
said averaging 11 rebounds.
All right, he averaged 20 and 10.
Yes, he did. So what are we talking?
That's why I said I think Kenny goes 5th if you redraft that class.
I don't think he goes. I don't think Kenny
goes first.
No,
first.
I don't think Kenny Anderson was better than Terrell Brandon.
Who was the first pick in that draft?
Larry Johnson.
Okay, Kenny was second. You said or third?
Kenny was second.
Okay, who was
Dikembe was 4th. Billy Owens was 3rd.
Okay, so Kenny's probably a top 3, if not top 4 pick in that draft.
He's a top 5 pick in that draft.
If you redraft that class, the class.
Oh, if I'm redrafting the class, I'm taking Dikembe first. Like I said, I do think it's debatable between Johnson
was so disgustingly overrated.
No, he wasn't.
One of the most impactful bigs of that era.
Exactly.
He was beloved because he went to Georgetown.
He wasn't beloved because he went to Georgetown.
Yes, he went. It was that morning, then Mutombo. Mutombo was like, you're the one that don't belong, bro. He had no offensive game.
Okay.
Like, defensively, he was so good defensively. How come Philly got worse defensively and all over the court when they traded Mutombo for Ratliff one-on-one? Right? Because Mutombo was the most overrated. Mutombo was not what he's made out to be. Like
Mutombo's defense trumps anything that any of these players in this draft is doing.
No, Kenny Anderson's playmaking over.
Kenny Anderson's playmaking didn't do much, bro. Like Terrell Brandon was better than him. I'm sorry.
Brandon was good. Like that's a better.
Terrell Brandon was better than him.
Brandon was great. Brandon was really good.
He was better than him.
He's not better than Kenny Anderson.
Yes, he was.
And Larry Johnson, who he did. I can't believe he averaged 11 rebounds a game. All right.
Yes, he did in this league.
And then after that, what did he do? He did nothing. It was 2 years, and he was basically done.
What did Kenny Anderson do after his All-Star year? Nothing.
Kenny Anderson was a top 10 point guard in the league.
It's a top 10 point guard. Come on. That's laughable. Come on, bro.
It's not laughable.
Yes, it is. That's laughable.
You are bugging on Kenny Anderson.
Kenny Anderson being a top 10 point guard in the 90s holds no weight to what Larry Johnson was doing.
What did Larry Johnson do? He had 2 good years at the top of his career. After that, he was not. What was he? He had back injuries, right?
Right. He did. Yeah, he did. But let's not make it seem like Larry. Let's not make it seem like Larry Johnson didn't hit the ground running the second that he got in the league. He got in the league, 19 and 11.
He had 2 great years.
It sounds like Derek Coleman to me.
Derek Coleman was so much better than Larry Johnson.
Yeah, okay.
What did Larry Johnson do on a court better than? What did Larry Johnson do on a court better than Derek Coleman?
He was a way better attacker at the basket. He was a way better rebounder.
Derek Coleman. He's not.
Oh yes, he was easily was.
Was 10 rebounds a game.
Derek
massive body. You couldn't keep him off the boards.
I understand that, but let's not make it seem like Larry Johnson at 6'6" wasn't a grown man neither. He was a grown man when he got in the league, bro. Coming out of UNLV, bro, like he was tempted to be what Barkley was, and he was doing that in his first 2-3 years in the league.
It's 2 years.
That
I'm
whole
not
shot,
dumping on the guy. He was a good
that
NBA
whole Charlotte run, he was going crazy, bro. I'm sorry.
If you
You only counting 2 All-Star years, bro. Like,
no, I'm
but
counting his first 2 years, and then he got the back injury, and there was a big drop off.
listen, and that's fine, but let's make it seem let's not make it seem like Derek Coleman had this upsetting injury, or Kenny Anderson had this upsetting injury that bottomed their careers. They were still healthy players, bro. They just wasn't who they was when they got in. They just wasn't who they was. They was one hit wonders, bro. They shine at a certain point in time, just like Larry Johnson got. The only difference is Larry Johnson actually had a setback injury wise. They did not. They bro. Like as Nets players, bro, they shortchanged us. If you was a Nets fan back then, and you was looking for Kenny Anderson and Derek Coleman to do something, they failed you. They shortchanged you as number 1 and number 2 picks. I'm sorry. They failed you. Those are failures in my book.
If the Nets keep their big 3 together, they get a championship.
If they they don't.
I said what I said.
No, they don't. They don't. No, they don't. You know how I know? Because they never even won a playoff series, bro. Even when Drazen Petrovic was alive. I'm sorry.
They never got it off the ground. They were just coming into their own. They were all super young. Remember, Kenny Anderson went to 1 year of college, right? That was unheard of at that time. Mm-hmm. That's how good Kenny Anderson was.
Drazen Petrovic, if I'm not mistaken, he was a vet in the league because he had played overseas for so long.
He got stuck on Portland behind Porter
behind Drexler.
Yeah,
Porter and Drexler and them, and then when he came to the Nets, he came into his own. Yep. Don't like now. It's unfortunate that he passed away, bro. Like, listen, God rest his soul. But let's be clear: when the Nets had him and he had that All-Star season, the Nets did not do anything in the postseason. I'm sorry.
They were too young at that point. They were too young.
I don't want to hear nothing about no youth, bro. They didn't win at all. Wasn't the Orlando Magic young? They won some playoff series during that time. Wasn't they young? Wasn't the Seattle Supersonics young with Garrett Payton and Sean Kemp? They won some playoff series. That's not an excuse. What are we doing here?
I'm saying if the Nets keep that team together,
they don't win a damn thing. Because we all know who was running the East at that time.
No,
they don't win a damn thing.
Stop. Because Jordan retired the next year.
Yes, and if you keep Drazen Petrovic alive, they're not better than Orlando when he retired. They're not better than the Knicks when he retired.
Hang on. They're not better than the Knicks? Give me
no.
I'm gonna give you the Nets starting lineup. Kenny Anderson, Drazen Petrovic, Chris Morris, Derek Coleman, Jason Williams. That's way better than the Knicks.
No, it ain't. It just sounds sexier. That's all it is. That's it. That's all it is. Listen, I don't like to co-sign the Tangerines at all, bro. But let's be clear. When the second that Jordan left, 1993-94, the Knicks basically ran the East. Let's make that clear. The Knicks basically ran the East.
I'm gonna say this again. Kenny Anderson, Drazen Petrovic, Chris Morris, Derek Coleman,
Gary,
and Jason Williams.
Gary, the problem with that lineup is you thinking about how they would be today. Back then, that lineup didn't mean shit. It didn't. It was a cute lineup. It was a young lineup. They won games in the regular season, but when the playoffs hit, bro, they probably wasn't better than Cleveland. They probably wasn't better than that Hornets team that won a playoff series, by the way, with Larry Johnson and a rookie Alonzo Mourning. That won a damn playoff series, and we sitting up in here talking about what Kenny Anderson, Drazen Petrovic, and Derek Coleman would have been had Drazen Petrovic not got
All-Star center and
All-Star center.
Jason Williams made an All-Star game. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Scary, stop with these one-hit. Stop trying to bash me in the head with these one-hit wonder All-Stars.
One of the premier rebounders in the league until he got
These is Jared Allen players, bro.
3 years in a row. Hang on, guys. Hang on. 3 years in a row, Jason Williams led the league in offensive rebounds. He averaged 7 offensive rebounds one season. 7.
That's cute, bro. That's fine. But
He got more offensive rebounds than Dennis Rodman. Does that count for anything?
hey, listen, hey, kudos to him, bro. That's the one thing that we can applaud him for in his career. Now that he out of jail, but excuse me, bro.
Shout out, Jason Williams.
Shout out Jason Williams, bro. But let's be clear. But let's be clear, bro. Like all of these stats that you pointing to didn't hold. All of these lineups that you pointing to, everything that you pointing to, didn't hold no weight in that time. You know it didn't. You know that. That's why the Nets were one. That's why the Nets were one and done when it came to the playoffs during that time. Even though they had a number 1 pick, even though they had a number 2 pick, even though they had Drazen Petrovic for a short amount of time, and he passed away.
I gotta wrap this up. I had to go 8 minutes ago, but hang on, Dylan.
I gotta get going too.
Let me just ask Dylan this question. I know you weren't even born yet. What's better, Kenny Anderson, Drazen Petrovic, Chris Morris, DC, and Jason Williams, All-Star center, or Derek Harper, John Starks, Anthony Mason, Charles Oakley, and Patrick Ewing?
Ewing.
No, stop.
Definitely Ewing.
Stop. I'm out of here.
Definitely Ewing.
Definitely. Ewing alone clears the entire Nets team.
I just named you 4 All-Stars. 4 All-Stars.
Ewing clears them.
Bugging. Ewing. Harper's your second best player. Extraordinary. Guys are bugging. The Nets starting 5 is so much better. All right. Dylan, when do you want to come back?
We'll figure it out. I gotta figure out what my work schedule is looking like, but I got you.
All right. Leaf, you want to close with anything? Leaf's
probably already gone.
Larry Johnson fan club day today. All right, guys. It's September 15th. We're already halfway through September. 3 weeks away from the start of the season. September 15th, 2025. From Texas to the world. Thank y'all, and God bless.
Later.